Okay, hello, and welcome to my talk today. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time out to really prioritize some time for yourself, which, let's face it, doesn't always happen when you're a busy boss lady, does it? So, I think it's really great that you've done this, and I just want to appreciate and acknowledge that. So thank you. I am wary that time is precious. So this talk won't go any longer than 1 hour. It is an interactive talk, so do feel free to say hi in the chat. But if you just want to sit back, take in the information, then that is completely okay as well. Now, as busy boss ladies, I am sure that you understand the difficulties of finding a balance between your health and your career. I get that. When time is limited, we tend to make decisions that are based on the length of time that it would take to do something. And so meal times, they can often fall into this snappy decision making also. The thing is, to be on top of your game in your personal life, in your career, your nutrition has to also be on point. If this isn't on point, you can't be on top of your game. It really is the foundation of everything. So today, I hope that I can show you the basics of calories, their role in your overall health, and how just understanding nutrition that little bit better can benefit both your personal life and your career progress by increasing your energy, your focus, your productivity, and your motivation as well. So the outline of today, what we're going to be talking about is, we'll start with the main role of calories and how they impact your overall health. And then we'll walk through a personalized calorie calculator. So for this, you want to be grabbing a pen, paper, and a calculator. If you haven't done that yet, you can go and grab those now. This is quite old school. If you have your phone, that will work as well. But what we're going to do is walk through this so that you can leave today knowing your unique requirements for optimal nutritional health, okay? Now, after the calculation, we will look at the 3 main macronutrients and how to split these up for your specific goals. And then we'll look at how to implement the information that you've learned by using tools and resources to help you achieve your goals. So you might be here looking to lose excess fat, to build some muscle, to achieve, an overall leaner look, or just to be able to feel and function better and make sure that you are supplying your body with the nutrition that it needs just to feel better and feel good and healthier. Whatever your goal, this talk is going to help you today. It's beneficial for everyone. So before we dive in, I would like to introduce myself, the voice that's behind the screen right now, and explain a little bit more about what I do. Now, the health and fitness industry is one that I am extremely passionate about and that I have been working in for some time now. I have worked within various roles throughout the years. Currently, I am working as a lifestyle transformation coach with neuro-linguistic programming, and I'm helping women to achieve a way of living that brings joy, purpose, and good health. And my coaching combines practices in both mind and body, as I really do believe that they go hand in hand. A strong mindset plus a well-functioning body equals overall health success. Any action that we take in life, it starts in the mind. Eating, exercising, working, talking, dancing, it all starts with a signal in your brain. And sometimes these signals, they kind of go off track and they just need a bit of reprogramming. And this is what neuro-linguistic programming does. It is the programming of the language of your brain. And that is why it plays a very heavy role in my transformation coaching. Now, I've been rock bottom a few times throughout the years, and so I know how detrimental it can be to lack confidence, be prisoned by fear, and feel so stuck in a life that you just do not enjoy, that you sometimes despise. For that reason, I'm very, very passionate about empowering other women and helping them to achieve their desires as I have my own. That's enough about me. You can always reach out to me after this talk if you'd like to find any more about my own personal story. But let's get into this, and we'll start by looking at the basics of calories. Now, I want to keep this as simple as I possibly can, so I will. A calorie is a unit of energy. That's all it is. It's just a unit of energy, scientifically. That's what it is. Now, if we think of a light bulb, it uses watts to function properly. And you may have bought a light bulb based on the amount of watts that it provides, 60, 80, 100 watts. It's similar to buying food based on the amount of calories that it provides. Or how about a car, for example? So it requires petrol or diesel to operate. Our bodies require calories to operate. It's the same kind of thing. And the types of calories, they do matter, but we'll look at that later on. We don't need to look at that right now. Okay, so if you're running around like a stressed out mother clucking hen, then I imagine that the lunch aisle grab and go or the meal deal selection have probably become quite familiar. I get that. And your decisions may be based on the digits that you find on the back of the packaging. So you're aware of food labels. Great. Now, the number that we see on these is kilocalories, KCAL. Just a quick side note here, there are actually 1,000 calories in a kilocalorie. However, most of us just refer to food energy as calories. So that's what I'll do today. I'll refer to that today as well. Now, usually the amounts that are shown on the back, they refer to the recommended portion size or per 100 grams. That's what it normally is that it shows. And as I mentioned before, calories are energy. They're a unit of energy. And so the number of calories in a food is a measure of the potential energy that that food possesses, that it can give to you. And so these labels, they just help us to understand what those are. That's all it is. And they're really, really useful, but they can also be harmful when we place a heavy focus on the traffic light system that we see, the reds, the ambers and the greens. Now, you'll have seen these traffic light systems yourself. I'm absolutely certain of that. And they're categorized, like I said, into red, amber and green. Now, the traffic light system is the percentage breakdown per recommended portion. And the colors just represent the levels, with red being high and green being low. This may sound like some very, very, basic bitch information, right? But something that not everyone is mindful of is that red does not automatically mean that the food is bad or to avoid it. It just means that the percentage of that particular nutrient that it's highlighting in red per portion is on the higher end. That's all it is. And so should we avoid all red labels altogether? No. But if you were to have a diet of all red labeled foods, then this would likely be calorie dense, higher in calories. And so it really depends what your goals are, okay? Now, let's talk about nuts, just as an example. If we think about nuts, these are a really great source of omegas and are therefore really beneficial to our long-term health. Now, if you look on the back of a packet of nuts, you will likely see some of the red traffic light system there, the red colors. And usually these are found on prepared meals, but you will probably see them on the back of nuts as well. Now, does that mean that these are bad, that nuts are bad to eat? No, not at all. They're just letting you know that they are high in a specific nutrient, that being fats. Okay, that's all it is. Balance in nutrition is absolutely key, and that's the most important thing to take away from that. Now, the problem with diet culture today is that it tends to categorize foods into either good or bad. And this in itself can lead to all kinds of problems for a person's relationship with food, and is one of the main reasons why, many people out there now are struggling with food fear and food guilt. The good and the bad categorization, it can lead to a person developing an eating disorder, for example. I fell into this trap as well 8 years ago. So it's really important that you understand the true meaning behind the categories so that you can balance out your food choices and your mental well-being as well. Simply put, good and bad does not exist. It doesn't exist. However, empty or discretionary calories do. And these are the types of calories that are left over from a food that the body, it can't make any use of them. It cannot process them. It cannot digest them. So for that reason, that's why they've been categorized into bad, because we can't do anything with them. And there are more of these in processed foods, which is why it tends to be that the processed foods, the fast food, the junk, quote unquote, foods, that's why they've been categorized as bad, because they have more of these empty calories that the body can't do much with. And, obviously over time, then this label has adapted to diet culture and has been labeled as bad, which are also known as fattening or junk. Okay. Of course, the types of foods that you choose to eat on a regular basis and more of, it will impact how you operate and how you function. So foods that contain a higher amount of empty calories may well satisfy your cravings and your taste bud delights, and that's okay. But if the body can't make much use of the calories, the energy, then there's obviously going to then be less energy provided to your body. So a diet that's high in these foods may leave you feeling drained of energy, struggling to focus at work, and therefore quite unproductive. Whereas foods that contain a higher amount of nutritious calories will provide your body with more energy and it will function better. So you'll be more energized, your focus will improve, and therefore you'll be more productive overall. This is why your diet really does play a role in your personal and your career success as well. So hopefully you're understanding a little bit more about the calories, which means we can now move on to the personal requirements, because our bodies, our activity levels, our health history, our goals, they're all unique. Therefore, our energy requirements need to be unique as well. Okay. Now, I do want to just say here, if I am going too fast, please do let me know in the chat. Just let me know if I need to slow down, if you'd like me to repeat something. The next bit, it can get a little bit complex. And, I have had some people say, Emma, can we just go over that again? So do please let me know. Don't be afraid to let me know if I'm going too quickly. Now, this is the part where you want to be grabbing a pen, some paper, and a calculator, or like I said, you can also use your phone as well, if you have that by you. I want to be very, very clear that this calculation does not account for individual body composition. So for example, muscle mass versus fat mass, okay? It's based on your weight, and weight is a combination of your bones, how much muscle you've got, how much fat you've got. It's not specific to your body composition. I want to be very clear on that. This is a very, very simple calculation. I've kept it simple because I don't want this to be overcomplicated. There is no such thing as a perfect calorie calculation. We simply use these just to give a baseline to be starting with that is close as we can possibly get to our unique goals and requirements, and then we work from there. It's really trial and error from there, okay? But this is as close as we can get, so this is what we use. Now, to begin with, we're going to start with working out your BMR. This is your basal metabolic rate, the measure of the rate at which your body utilizes or burns calories while at rest. Okay, so the energy that your body requires just to survive, just to breathe. So we start at the top. Now, obviously, it's ladies on this talk, so we're going to be looking at that one. So you want to take your body weight in pounds. If you don't know it in pounds, if you only know it in kilograms, just do a really quick Google, and it will come up with the pounds for you. If you just pop it in, it will work that out for you very, very quickly. So you want to get that in pounds, and then you want to times that by 10. So it's your body weight in pounds times it by 10. So for example, if you weigh 200 pounds and you times that by 10, your BMR is 2,200. Okay, so now we're going to calculate your requirements to maintain your current weight. Okay, so we've worked out what it is that you need to survive. Now we're going to work out what it is to actually maintain your current weight based on your activity levels. So if you're quite, if you don't move much throughout the day, let's say you've got an office job and you're sat at the desk for pretty much the whole day, and you're not really that active, you don't participate in many sports or exercise, maybe a light walk every now and then you want to be going on the lower end. So you want to times the answer that you got in the last part there, your BMR, you want to times that by 1.2. This is if you're not very active, okay? If you are moderately active, so let's say you participate in exercise or sports 3 to 5 days a week, then you want to times it by 1.55, okay? So if you're not too active, you're timesing it by 1.2. If you're fairly active, you're timesing it by 1.55. And then what you'll have there is your maintenance calories. This is what you need just to maintain your current weight on a daily basis, okay? Now then, this is where we add in your goals, the goals that you're looking to achieve. So if you're looking to reduce fat, for example, then you need to be in a calorie deficit. And if you want to look to gain some muscle, then you want to be in a surplus. So you want to be eating more calories. So for fat loss, you're going to take your maintenance answer and you're going to minus 200. For muscle gain, you're going to take your maintenance and you're going to add 200. Why 200? Well, really anywhere between 200 and 500 is okay. However, if we go too high straight away, so if we go to 500 straight away, like I said before, this calculation isn't perfect. It's just giving us a basic starting point, okay? So if we go too extreme too quickly, let's say we're doing fat loss, it might be that it's too much. And so what you'll be faced with is even less energy and even more brain fog, okay? Because we've gone too much. So what we want to do is we want to tread carefully and we just want to do a nice safe number that will get results, but just at a slower, more gradual progress so that we know what we're dealing with, we know what we're working with. So if we start at 200 and over the weeks, you're starting to, if your goal is fat loss, you're starting to see that, you know, it's coming down, that it's working, that you're feeling slimmer, that your clothes are a bit looser, then it's working, okay? If it's not, then we can add on maybe another 100 and we'll take 300 away for the next couple of weeks. But it's, like I said, it's trial and error, but we want to go safely, gradually, and in control, and not go to the extreme too much, okay? So after all of that, hopefully now you have been left with your daily calorie intake. So the total number of calories that are suitable for you, your personal activity levels, your current body weight, and also your goals, okay? So hopefully I'm going to move on now. So if you need a couple of more minutes, just let me know in the chat now. Otherwise, we will move on to the next part. So we're actually going to now break this down even further and break this up into macronutrient categories, which is another very important factor for optimal functioning. Now, a macronutrient is a type of food that's required in large amounts. That's what macro means. Macro means large. And they provide energy, a lot of energy, and enable the body to function properly. So that's why these are really, really important and really key for our overall health and well-being. Now, the three main macronutrients are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And all of these have specific roles within the body, and therefore it's important, like I just said, to include all three within a diet. However, there are ways in which we can split this up to optimize your health goals. Now, this is very individualized. Many people get confused and very overwhelmed at this point with choosing a split. For example, do I do low carb? Do I do low fat? You know, it can get very overwhelming, and a lot of people kind of bounce from each one and bounce around trying to figure out what works for them. To make this decision a little bit easier and also highly beneficial, we're going to start with protein. We're going to start first of all with protein, because really this is a very important one for the overall functioning of your body. Everyone can benefit from getting enough protein. There are numerous reasons why it is beneficial. It supports the body with healing and recovery from damage, illness, and exercise. It helps to build lean muscles. So when we're saying that we want to look toned and we want to have a lean body, we need to have muscle for that. Protein helps with that, okay? It's satiating, meaning that it makes you feel more satisfied after your meals. You feel more satisfied with your meals, which is important because it can stop you from then wanting to go and have more of something else. It has a high thermic effect, which means that it requires more energy and calories to digest. So you're actually burning more calories to digest the food itself. And it promotes healthy hair and nail growth, which, let's face it, there's nothing wrong with that. We can all use a bit of that. So it's not a bad list really for one food type, hence why a protein-focused diet is very, very popular. Now let's look at how we can adapt this to your own split so that it can support your own health goals and preferences. So like I said, we're going to start with protein first of all. So another bit of a calculation here. The protein requirement is based on your body weight. Now, as a basic minimum, you want to be providing yourself, well, not a minimum, but a basic kind of average. You want to be providing 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body weight. Really, you can sit anywhere between the 0.8 all the way up to 2 grams, depending on your goals. For example, you know, bodybuilders, they may be on the higher end because they've got more requirement and more need for recovery and building, breaking down the muscles, building them back up again. You know, however, you might be on the lower end, you might not put your muscles or your body through that kind of intense training, and so you might not need quite as much as that. But research has suggested that really around 1 gram per 1 pound of body weight is a good baseline to be going with. So that's what we're going to aim for, and that's what we'll start with. So what you want to be doing is your body weight in pounds. You already know this from the last calculation, okay? 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories. So if you work out your body weight, let's say you were 200 pounds, then you're going to be wanting 200 grams of protein per day, okay? Now, if we want to work out how much that is in calories, like I said, there's 4 calories per 1 gram of protein. So the total grams that you've got there based on your body weight, you want to times that by 4, and that will give you the total amount of calories out of your calorie allowance that you worked out in the calorie calculation. Okay. Now, once you've got that answer, the next two, the carbs and the fats, really, it doesn't matter all too much where you go with this. So it really is down to preference and your body. Some people struggle with digesting carbohydrates, and so they may prefer to go on the lower carb diet. Some people prefer to eat more carbohydrates. They love pasta, they love rice, and so they may want to go on the higher end. It really doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're either in a calorie deficit or a calorie surplus or at maintenance. That's all that really matters for your goals. The next two are really just about preference and how your body feels and reacts to certain foods. So carbohydrates are the body's main energy source. It goes to the carbohydrates first and foremost, but there is a limited amount of storage in the body that it can utilize. Now, they're really good for high intensity training. So if this is the type of training that you love, carbohydrates are very, very good for this, very beneficial. And so a diet that's higher in carbs may be good for you for that reason. Fats are the secondary energy source, and there's a high storage in the body for this. So this is why they're really good for endurance training. So if you're a marathon runner, for example, then a diet that is higher in carbohydrates would be really beneficial because your body can store it. And so once your carbs are depleted, there's a high storage of energy from the fats that is still there that it can utilize. Okay. And of course, it depends on your health goals as well. So if you're in a fat loss stage, if you like to eat a lot of food, like me, you prefer to go to around volume of food, then the carbohydrate diet will allow you to eat more grams of food because for 1 gram, it's similar to protein, there's 4 calories per gram. Whereas fats, per 1 gram of fat, you've got 9 calories. So if you're going to eat a higher fat diet, then it probably means that the volume of food that you're going to eat is going to be on the lower end. Now, it's really important after saying all of that, however, that as a female, you make sure that you have a good amount of fats in the body, because actually we need to have a specific amount to ensure that our hormones are regulating right, that we're achieving homeostasis. It's good for our hair as well and our nails. So it's really important that we don't go too low on fats because we need it. The woman body needs it. So they say around 30% is a good baseline. So we can go with that. So if you work out 30% of your daily calories from your other calculation that you just did, and you take away your fats from that, and then you can either add to that if you want to go a little bit higher, then go for it, or you can just fill the rest of it, the leftovers, with carbohydrates. Okay, so hopefully that's all made sense. Do say in the chat if there's anything that's confusing or that you want me just to kind of go over again, please do let me know. I know it can sometimes sound complicated, which is why I'm really trying to keep it as simple as possible, because it doesn't have to be complicated. Okay, now, all right, let's move on then. So tracking calories and tracking nutrition, it has its pros and cons, okay? But it is a really useful tool for ensuring that you're properly nourishing yourself and providing some structure also for when things tend to go a little bit off track over the holiday period, for example, or summer holidays, where, you might have a cocktail or two, or you might enjoy a meal and you kind of let your hair down and you don't want to stress too much about your nutrition. You want to have a bit of time out, which is completely fine. But then when you get home, sometimes it can feel like you're a bit lost, okay? And you need that structure again. And it's all fair and well going through that calorie calculation there, working out your ideal macro split and having all the digits and figures in front of you, but then it's really important that you implement it, and that's where tracking can really help. As I mentioned previously, though, it can become obsessive and it can become overwhelming. So it's really important when tracking nutrition that you are fully aware of how it's making you feel and how you are responding to it. Because if you're not enjoying it and you're not feeling like it's supportive, then I would recommend utilizing another way. Okay, really, we don't want to be tracking calories for the rest of our lives. We don't want to be doing this. This isn't good. Okay, but it's very useful for short periods of time. Let's say you've got a wedding coming up, you know, you might want to track your calories so that you can hit a specific goal. Or a holiday, maybe you just want to feel a little bit tighter or build a little bit more muscle. Okay, if you're using tracking calories for a short period of time, then this is okay, this is fine. But ideally, we don't want to be doing it for the rest of our lives because then it can become quite imprisoning. And like I said, it can develop very negative relationships as well and become obsessive. However, it can be very, very useful and very helpful for ensuring that you're getting your right nutrition, that you're not under eating, that you're not in any nutrient deficiencies. So it can be very, very beneficial. And there are ways to track. However, the easiest and the most common way to do it is by using a mobile app. Now, there are a few apps out there these days, so definitely have a look around. Let me just pause these videos, they're on autoplay. Have a look around, see what works for you, see what you like the look of, the ease of. But my preferred choice is MyFitnessPal, and it is also very widely known as well. Now, some of my clients that I have worked with in the past have come to me saying that they've been using these apps prior to working with me, and they can't figure out what's going wrong. You know, they're like, Emma, I've been using this app for some time. I had all my digits and everything figured out, and I don't understand why after doing the tracking and really keeping an eye on things, something's not working and I don't understand. And when we've looked into this, we've discovered that they weren't logging their food correctly. And it's a very easy mistake to make with this app. So for that reason, I'm going to walk you through a very quick demo of how to properly scan your foods into the tracker, and also how to search for foods properly within the built-in library. So if we start with scanning foods, like I say, it's an easy mistake to make because some of these are just on automatic. So here I've got some salmon. I'm scanning the back of the packet and it's coming up with one serving being 100 grams. Okay, however, that's not actually what one serving is. There's 2 fillets in there. I want to have one of them, which is 1 serving. And actually the amount that it is on the packet tells me that it's 240 grams in a full packet, which means that 1 serving is going to be 120 grams, not 100 grams. Okay, so we have to be mindful of what the app is coming up with at that point and just change it so that it matches the grams that we want. Okay, so here I've got some rice noodles. Serving size has come up as 45 grams because that's probably what's recommended on the back of the packet. I'm going to have that. So I would leave that how it is. I wouldn't change it. Okay. If I did want to change it, I'd go to the drop down, I'd change it to 1 gram, and then I'd put in the number that I want, like I'm going to do here with some veggies. So again, I scan the packet, see how easy it is with the barcodes. Honestly, lifesaver. So here, 100 grams serving size. I don't want 100 grams. I want 300 grams. So I change it to 1 gram and I adapt the number to 300. And there we go. My dinner's put in. Okay. So that's where a lot of people tend to go wrong, and where it's really important to see, because you can end up going, 200 over what you think you're having, and then that's when you get confused. All right. Now, what's showing up here is that if you scroll to the bottom, you can actually see what your overall nutrients are. So we were saying there about the macro split. Let me just pause it. We were working out a macro split before, right? You can actually put in your macro preferences into the app and it will keep a track of this. So the food that you're having, it will keep a track of that split for you. So you can, over time, find out what kind of foods work and what match up. But again, it really isn't about being perfect at this point. So, you know, if your fat is set at 32%, for example, and perhaps one day it's at 35% or 29%, honestly, it's not about being perfect. It's about getting as close as we can. And that's really all it is, okay? Because this isn't perfect. The calculation isn't perfect. It's just a baseline to get as close as we can, okay? And it just provides a bit more structure. Okay, now let's move on to searching foods within the app, because we don't always have barcodes. For example, you might have a really lovely setup in your kitchen and you don't like having packets, and you'll have those pots that say pasta, rice, and whatever, and you'll take stuff out the packets and pour them in. So you might not have the packets anymore, which is fine. That's where you can search for foods in the app. So what you do here is you just tap it into the search bar. So I'm doing eggs, bearing in mind there are different sizes, large, medium and small. So you can change that depending on what you've got. I like to have large eggs, and I'm going to have 2 there. I pop it in, I hit OK, and it saves it in. Perfect, easy. Next up, I want to have some bread with it, and I'm going to have a Warburton thin. And so I'll type that in. And, you know, not always are you going to find the exact brand. You know, you might have an own brand, for example, it might not be in there. Again, it doesn't matter as long as it's as close as possible, right? So for example, the spinach here, spinach is spinach. Okay, so whether it's the shop's own brand, or, you know, whether it's some organic specific brand, for example, it doesn't matter. Spinach is spinach, okay? Just put in a regular amount and there we go. And we could even argue whether to actually weigh the spinach or not, but again, it depends. It depends how much you want to try and stick as close as you can, okay? And what I just did there is I just copied the meals as well. So you can put this stuff in and you can save it. And then over time, as you're building up throughout the week, if you're finding that you're having the same breakfast each day or the same lunch each day, you can go back to, let's say, yesterday, and you can copy your meal from breakfast and you can copy it over to today. So at first, using this kind of tracking app, it might seem a little bit time consuming, it might seem a bit faffy, but actually most of us tend to stick to the same kind of foods each week, don't we? So when we've got that baseline, it becomes a lot more easier, and we just copy and then we just make little changes. For example, you might have 1 egg the next day, but you just do that little change, all right? But it just becomes so much easier as you go along. And another note that I'll add here as well is when it comes to things like doing your meats, if you're a meat eater, then you want to make sure whether you're doing raw or cooked, because this was another issue that some of my clients were having. They were putting in raw amounts, but actually they were weighing out cooked amounts. Okay, and it is very different because obviously there's a lot of water still adding to the weight when your meat's raw. When you cook it, that gets evaporated, and so it becomes lighter. So it definitely does change it. So you want to make sure that what you're weighing is congruent to what you're putting into the app. Okay. All right, let's move on. So we have got our basic requirements that we need for the calories. We've got our split, and we've understood how to actually implement this into an app. Now, another really great tool, especially if you are a busy boss lady, is meal planning and meal prep. This is just great for women who are constantly on the go. You basically make your own grab and go system. Okay, so going and getting the grab and go from the supermarket aisle, for example, you're making that own system within your own home, which means it can be more specific to your goals and your requirements. Now, meal planning, it may look like a weekly planner of what you want to eat each day. And you can change this up each week to avoid becoming bored or unsatisfied with your plan, which is very important because we don't want this to be boring. We don't want this to be hard work. You know, this can be enjoyable. You know, you can have tasty foods. You can get creative with it. So do so, you know, don't allow it to become something that isn't enjoyable, because then that's when you're more likely to not be consistent with it. So change it up, have fun with it, avoid becoming bored or unsatisfied. And make sure that your meal planning works around your behavior patterns as well. This is also very important. Just because you're going to decide to start planning out your meals each week doesn't mean that you have to change your timings and say, right, I'm going to eat at this time, I'm going to eat at that time, you know, 3 set meals a day at 3 set times a day. If you're not already doing that, then why change that? Okay, if you're a snackaholic, for example, like me, you like to snack throughout the day, then be true to that. Okay, don't try and suddenly stop that if you don't have to. Okay, if you're still hitting your targets, then you can have 6 meals a day, you can have 10 meals a day, you can have 2 meals a day. All right, it doesn't matter. So stick to what it is that you prefer. And this, again, this is really important to not let things get so overwhelming and difficult, okay? So planning the snacks if you want to do that. Make a big meal in the evening if you want to do that. Make a big meal in the morning if you want to do that, okay? It wants to be attainable. That's the baseline. It wants to be attainable. Now, meal prep, this is where you either cook and dish out your meals the night before, or you can bulk cook for a few days at a time, or even weeks at a time, and then freeze the portions in your freezer. This is really great if you find that you have maybe some extra time on the weekends, and you do, maybe the week is just too hectic, it's too busy, and you might have a spare couple of hours on the weekend that you can have some time to prioritize to cooking up some meals, bulk cooking, and then portion it out to suit your needs and freeze it. And then again, you've still got your grab and go system, okay? You can either defrost it in the microwave at work, or you can defrost it the night before in the fridge. Either way, this is a really useful tool to be using to, you know, be able to have that grab and go system without it being overwhelming, okay? Now, if this is all still sounding very desirable, but still very overwhelming, then the next step really is to get someone to help you, okay? Not someone to do it all for you, unless you can find someone to cook, portion, package up, and spoon feed you throughout the day. How desirable would that be? No, not that, because empowered women take responsibility for their own actions, and they utilize help when support is needed. Okay, they know to do that. And sometimes it really is needed, because being a busy boss lady, it's extremely challenging at times. And often there are already too many plates spinning at one time. No pun intended there. So getting someone to help will take that stress away, and it will avoid you having to find the extra time to plan. Okay, so you want to weigh up if you do actually have the spare time to be able to set aside to do all of this, or if you might need someone to just help out and do it for you. Okay, do the plan for you, not implement it. Very, very important difference there. It will also give you confidence in achieving your goals. You know, professionals get it right. It's our speciality. Okay, if we didn't, then we shouldn't be doing the job. Simply put. All right, so you can have confidence in it working, because I know that sometimes these things are slow progress. All right, like I was saying before, if we're doing the 200 at a time, it can be a little bit slower, and so you might have all kinds of you know, thoughts coming into your head. It's not working, I'm doing it wrong. You know, and if you have someone that you can talk that through with, it will help to give you that confidence and to keep you going. All right. And you'll also have your bases covered and reduce the risk of running into nutritional deficiencies or developing things like an eating disorder, which, like I said, you know, I've seen both sides to this type of nutrition tracking, the negative and the positive. And if it's not done with good intentions and with mindfulness, it can become damaging. So it's very, very important that you have that awareness. Sometimes it's difficult to recognize these signs in yourself, okay? But a professional will be able to help identify this at the early stages and then implement new strategies where required, okay, to make sure that this is always safe, okay? So if this sounds like something that you could benefit from, you know, if you feel like you might need that extra support, do reach out to me. That's what I do. My diary's open, and I would like to invite you to jump on a call with me so that we can discover more about where you're at in your journey and how I can potentially help you as well. It's, you know, just a chat, just to discuss your current situations and how you can start taking realistic action on your health goals immediately. And just for booking a call, I'll send you a complimentary copy of my meal prep recipe guide for busy boss ladies as well. This is a collection of all of my favorite quick, tasty and balanced meals. And, you know, I'm very, very, taste is important to me. Taste, time, and volume of food as well. Very important to me. And so that's what is included in this book. It's a collection of my favorite recipes that I've come across. Okay, so if you do want to book a call with me, the link is there on your screen. Feel free to take a picture of it now so that you can remember it and tap it in. I'm sorry, it's not quite as short as it should be, but there we go. This will take you to my online booking diary, and you can just book a call with me in there at a time that suits you, whenever that might be, okay? Now, before we go, if anyone has any questions, please just drop them into the chat now, and I'll be happy to go through them with you. We can have a little chat. Otherwise, if not, then I just want to say thank you very much for being with me here and for sitting through this. And I hope that you've managed to get what you came here to get today, that you've managed to get some very valuable information. And if you want to continue this talk, or if you have more questions that maybe you don't want to ask right now, but at a later time, please do feel free to book a call with me there with that link on your screen, or you can just email me as well. Em.Powercoaching@gmail.com. Also, you got your tickets through Eventbrite, so you'll be able to respond and email me through there as well, okay? Thank you very much for being with me here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and hopefully speak soon. All the best and take care. Bye-bye.